At the beginning of the movie, we meet Truman Burbank, an insurance salesman living what looks like a perfectly normal life on Seahaven Island. He's married to Meryl, a kind nurse, and although he's lived here his entire life, Truman has never once left the island. One morning, as Truman is heading to work, something strange happens. An object suddenly falls from the sky right near him. When he looks up, the sky is completely clear. Later on the radio, he hears about a plane malfunctioning above Seahaven, which supposedly explains the falling object. At work, Truman secretly tries reaching out to someone named Lauren or Sylvia. He's been trying to connect with her for some time but finds nothing. His boss, Lawrence, asks him to close a deal at Harbor Island, but Truman can't bring himself to go. The thought of crossing open water terrifies him. That night, Truman talks with his best friend Marlon about wanting to see the world, especially Fiji. Marlon brushes it off, but Truman can't shake the idea. Sitting alone at the beach, Truman remembers the tragedy his fear. Years ago, he was sailing with his father during a storm. Truman survived, but his father didn't. From that day on, Truman has been terrified of open water. Out of nowhere, rain begins to fall, but only on Truman. When he checks again, the rain suddenly spreads to everyone else. Puzzled, he goes home and excitedly tells Meryl he wants to travel the world. She dismisses the idea, saying they can't afford it, and suggests having kids instead. The next morning, Truman spots a homeless man who looks exactly like his late father. Shocked, he runs after him, but strangers quickly push the man onto a bus and take him away. Truman tries to follow but finds every path blocked. When he tells his mother, she insists it's his imagination. Frustrated, Truman digs through old belongings in the basement and finds a sweater with a button that reads, "How's it going to end?" He flashes back to his college days, where he first noticed a girl named Lauren. Truman was instantly drawn to her, but Meryl interrupted before he could connect with her. Later at the library, he finally spoke to Lauren. She warned him that if they were going to be together, it had to be right then or never. They ran off to the beach, kissed, and she confessed the truth. Truman's world is fake. Before she could explain further, a man claiming to be her father dragged her away, calling her mentally unstable. He told Truman they were moving to Fiji and warned him never to look for her again. All Truman was left with was Lauren's sweater and confusion. Back in the present, Truman still obsesses over her. He even tries to piece her face together using magazine clippings. On his way to work one day, his car radio suddenly picks up a broadcast. Strangely, it's describing his every move. Suspicious, Truman sneaks into an office building and takes an elevator, only to discover a hidden set with people wearing headsets and microphones. They scatter when they notice him, and security quickly throws him out. Shaken, Truman confides in Marlon, but his best friend brushes it off. Still, Truman admits he's planning to chase his dream of leaving Seahaven. Later, while looking through wedding photos, Truman notices something odd. Meryl has her fingers crossed in every picture, like she never truly meant her vows. The next day, Truman tries to book a flight to Fiji, but all flights are mysteriously full for a month. He attempts to leave by bus to Chicago, but the bus conveniently breaks down before even leaving town. That night, Truman forces Meryl into the car to show her how predictable everything around them has become. He locks the doors, drives across the bridge despite his fear of water, and nearly makes it off the island until police stop him, claiming there's a chemical spill ahead. One of the officers casually calls Truman by name, confirming his suspicions. At home, Meryl breaks under the pressure and starts pitching a product like she's in a commercial. Furious, Truman confronts her, and when things get tense, Marlon suddenly shows up, seemingly by coincidence. Truman pours his heart out, saying he trusts Marlon because he's his best friend. But behind the scenes, we see the truth. Christof, the creator of The Truman Show, is feeding Marlon his lines. In fact, Truman's entire life is a massive live television show broadcast 24/7 to millions worldwide. Seahaven is a gigantic dome set, controlled entirely by Christof and his crew. To keep Truman compliant, Christof even orchestrates the sudden return of Truman's father. Overcome with emotion, Truman hugs him, unaware it's just another manipulation. Meanwhile, Sylvia calls into the show, furious at Christof for trapping Truman without his consent. Christof argues he's given Truman a safe, happy life and insists Truman could leave if he ever figured it out. But Truman's behavior grows more unpredictable. Meryl leaves him, and Christof introduces a new co-worker, hoping she'll become Truman's next love interest. One night, when Truman is supposed to be asleep, Christoph realizes the cameras aren't picking him up. In a panic, he cuts the broadcast for the first time in history. The whole world holds its breath. Eventually, they discover Truman has escaped by boat. Determined, Truman faces his deepest fear and sails into open water. Christoph unleashes violent storms to stop him, but Truman refuses to give up. Finally, Christoph ends the simulation, admitting defeat. Exhausted, Truman's boat collides with the dome's painted sky. Stunned, he realizes he's reached the edge of his world. He finds a staircase leading to an exit door. For the first time, Christoph speaks directly to Truman. He tries to convince him to stay, claiming the outside world is full of pain. Truman pauses, looks toward the camera, and delivers his final words before bowing. Then, he walks through the door. The broadcast ends. Around the globe, people cheer as Truman finally wins his freedom. Sylvia, watching from her apartment, rushes out with joy, and just like that, the Truman Show is over. Friends, The Truman Show isn't just a movie, it's a reflection of our own lives. Truman's world may be a giant television set, but in many ways we too live inside invisible walls created by society, routine, and fear. Truman shows us the courage it takes to break free from a life that feels safe but isn't truly our own. It asks us, are we living authentically, or are we just playing roles written for us? Sometimes freedom isn't about escaping a dome. It's about daring to step beyond comfort zones, chasing truth, and choosing our own destiny. If you liked this recap and its deeper meaning, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more movie breakdowns. And let me know in the comments, would you stay in Truman's safe world or step out into the unknown?